so much for this morning. It has been quite eye-opening and
Mm.
extremely engaging, and one of the best gatherings I've been to in a long time.
It exceeded my expectations. I had really high expectations of it being an interesting discussion, and it blew my mind. So.
Be able to unmute yourselves with the exception of Nathan.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
So everybody else is sort of muted. So let's get this party started.
So welcome everyone to the Fellowship of Free Thought September gathering. I am Lisa Perry, Executive Director, and this is Al, my husband, who helps me in every aspect of this organization. Just to let you know, we're going to record the meeting today. So if you have any concerns about that, just reach out to us afterwards and we'll address your concerns.
Yeah, and if the concern is such that you don't want to be on the video, I'd ask you to go ahead and turn your camera off throughout the presentation, and maybe even right mouse click on your picture and change your name. Because there's a good chance we will use this video publicly, and I don't want to out anyone that doesn't want to be outed. But I'll need you to take responsibility for making sure you don't appear on the video by turning your camera off if you have a problem being on the video. We're running the controls.
Okay, Boomer.
All right, so here we go. Try it again. Now everybody should be able to see that. Okay.
Fellowship of Free Thought is a 501c3 established in 2010. So we've been around 10 years. Yeah, so we're member run. And our mission is to build a free thinking community through social education and community service events. And we have outreach programs like our homeless outreach. Every month we bring food and supplies to an encampment of homeless people living living in the woods near High Five. Clean up the highway at Northwest Highway because we've adopted a stretch of highway there and have been doing that for about 10 years. We can find us on Meetup. We also have a public Facebook page and we have a discussion group on Facebook as well. All right, so the main party, it's time to introduce our speaker, Nathan Ferguson. And as Al mentioned earlier, well, I was kind of late to the party, the street epistemology party.
Me too.
And when I learned about it, and as many people do, I first heard of Anthony Magnabosco. And I was like, Al, we got to try to get him. Mm-hmm. And so Al reached out to him and he referred us to Nathan. And it was just such a pleasure meeting Nathan. He is a really great guy, and he's from Oregon.
Yeah,
so
and Nathan's got a really great energy about him. I kind of dig him. And if you want to have some fun, go to his Facebook page and check out his pictures. He's a burner, right? You know, the Burning Man thing. I want to be Nathan. You know,
I told him we want to meet your people.
Yeah. I think your people and my people need to talk because that would be a riot. So. He's got a fantastic communication style about him. I really enjoyed talking to him. And I'm really looking forward to today's presentation in a way that I haven't looked forward to a presentation in a while.
Yeah, we tossed around several ideas about how to do this, and we landed on this idea, and this is kind of a grand experiment.
Yeah, this could be horrible. We don't know.
But we're very excited to bring this to you, and I think we wouldn't have been able to do this had it not been for the pandemic. So one more silver lining.
Mm-hmm. So hello, Nathan. How are you?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, Zoom is something that evolved a lot after the pandemic happened, and I don't think I'd be capable of putting all this together and having this poll and doing what we plan on doing today in quite the same way if it weren't for the pandemic, which is really interesting how things work out that way, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Focus on the positive, right?
All right. So should I go ahead and start and share my screen?
Yep.
Okay. All right, street epistemology. So thank you all for listening.
That was powerful. Thank you so much. I enjoyed listening to that conversation.
Yay.
So we're gonna do the polls now.
So I didn't make the survey that we're about to do. A fellow content creator, Ben Diesel, made the survey, and he's from South Africa. We've got street epistemologists from all over the world that do this, and he made this cheat sheet for people who are trying to learn street epistemology on different principles of epistemology, which are tools that we use to determine things that are true. And they're broken up into 4 categories. What is truth? How does belief work? When we should believe? And when we should change our minds. And each category has 6 statements that somebody else is saying. So somebody else is coming here and they're telling us a statement, and it's our task to either agree, slightly agree, neutral, slightly disagree, or strongly disagree to each of the statements. And you can be anywhere on the spectrum. There's not necessarily a wrong answer, although there's probably going to be there might be powerful agreement amongst us here, knowing that we're all like-minded, though I am anticipating a few outliners on some of these points. And what I'd like to do is for us to fill out the poll, and then if you raise your hand and you're called, what I'd like is for either you to ask me a question about it, or for to volunteer to be asked a question. And
everyone should see the first poll. You can start answering the questions anytime.
Yeah, go ahead and fill out the poll. It should be on your screen now. Wow, this is fascinating. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it is. What he's talking about, Nathan and Lisa and I can see the results as they're coming in live. We're going to show them all to you in a moment. We were concerned that with so many skeptics that the answers might all line up, but I'm quite surprised we're seeing a wide variety of answers.
Yep.
26 of the 38 have completed.
We have 31 of 38 completed.
Yeah, 81%.
We're at 32 of the 38.
I don't see any hands.
I don't see any hands, so let's call it done. How about that?
Hey. Wow, this is so fascinating. Okay. So can everybody see the results right now?
Also, you can unmute yourselves if you need to say something. Just use discretion if you're going to speak.
I think everyone can see the results, right?
They should be able to.
I can see it.
Okay. All right. So we have 4 votes for somewhat disagree, but no strong disagrees to number 1. It's really interesting. If anyone voted somewhat disagree to number 1, if you are feeling brave and up for it, would you like to raise your hand and either allow yourself to be asked a question or to ask me a question? I'm at strong agree for number 1. I saw that Katie raised her hand.
Hi.
Hi, yeah, it's Katie and Griff.
Hi.
So, yeah, I was going to I think I'm kind of the oddball in the room. I just was reading that first question, and with regards to truth and how it, what was the first question that you were asking?
We're trying to define truth right now. Before we talk about what's true, we need to agree what the truth is.
Yes, external reality, that was it. So
Yeah.
I was thinking with regards to a majority of people's opinions and a majority of people thinking the same way, would that not dictate truth?
I'm sorry, with people thinking the same way, so we could,
For example, if a majority of people,
Uh-huh.
51%, think one way versus 49% that think another way,
yeah.
would not the majority rule and dictate what truth is?
Can I ask you a question about that? In the past, when most of the world thought the Earth was flat, was the statement the Earth is flat an accurate statement?
No. But that was the truth of the time.
So in your view, the word truth is synonymous with the common understanding?
Yes, I think the common understanding dictates the truth of the time.
Can the common understanding be false?
Yes, it can.
So is it true?
Then is it true?
No.
If it's false.
At the time, it's true.
At the time it was, so here's the thing. Is there a difference between what's considered to be true and something that is true? Is there a difference, or are they the same?
Considered to be true versus...
Yeah. So like if everyone considers something true, but it's inaccurate, is it still true? So we're playing with language, really.
Yes, we
We're
are.
playing with language of the word true. And if truth isn't that which best matches, then is it what people agree about?
That's right, because you said best matches. And I think
best.
the caveat in there allows for the inaccurate.
Right. Cool. Anybody else have, thank you so much for your input. Anybody else have any questions on number one, or should we move on to number two? I really appreciate you guys giving me input. That was great. All right, maybe we should move on to number two. So that's generally
Hello? Before we move on, just one question I had. If no living thing existed, would truth cease to exist? Or will it not be true regardless if there was no living thing? Will not things still be true regardless of whoever is there?
Yeah, so if a statement, okay, so is that a question for me?
No, that's a general question, especially to answer our question, Andre's what he was saying, a question to him.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I think, was that for Katie and friends over there?
And friends. Okay.
Sorry, yeah. I was rereading the question, and it was basically it ends with external reality. Is that right? Is that?
Yeah.
So so my point is the external reality of the time dictates truth. Truth is that which best matches external reality. So the external reality of the time basically dictates the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my argument with the majority. So the majority groupthink, or however people are interpreting.
Does the truth depend at all on what anyone thinks?
Does the truth depend at all on what anyone thinks?
Yeah.
I think that's what I was trying to say.
Absolutely. It's completely dependent on what people think.
But if the Earth was round and what you think about the Earth doesn't change it to make it flat,
it doesn't matter. It's the truth. I mean, when you think about the word truth, again, we're getting into semantics here. I mean, you almost think of it more as a legal term. And with regards to law, everything is what you can argue.
Yeah, did that answer the question though? Philip had a question, or?
I'm sorry, yeah, Philip, we're kind of getting back and forth here. What was Philip asking again?
Oh, you're muted. You're muted. I think I can't hear him.
Mute.
no living thing. Suppose no living thing existed. Will that change the truth of anything at all?
I see what you're saying. The way I understand truth is it's more perception based. It's how humans perceive truth. I mean, we're the ones that are the thoughtful ones, so we're the ones to determine what's true and what's not true. And your statement and Katie's statement of the Earth is round and that's not going to change anything. Doesn't matter.
My definition of truth is or what corresponds to reality. That is how I would define truth. What corresponds to reality. So for me, I would say, regardless of whether we perceive something to be true, quote unquote, it does not depend on us. That is more of a matter of, I think here we are equating, are we not equating perception and truth? That's why I'm wondering, are we not right now equating perception and truth? Because from a scientific perspective, truth is what comports to reality. Science does not make does not declare what is true. It just tries to get to a method of trying to get as close to as possible to what is true, or the best explanation as to what we observe. But if there was nothing here, will not still things be true about the universe, about how the universe works? Does our perception change the truth or reality of things?
I think that's actually a point that's later down the survey. And I really appreciate your guys' feedback. So I think we should move on to number 2, and then we'll probably get to that point here in a bit. Thank you for your questions and feedback. It's been really fun. All right, so let's move on. Number 2. This is one of my favorite ones. People experience the same reality and only interpret it differently. And we've got some hesitancy with the somewhat agree here. We got 7 people have voted strongly agree. We got some neutrals, somewhat disagree. This one's all over the map. So this one's really interesting. So I'll pose a general question, and if anyone wants to answer it, then let me know. I think of it like this. If we're playing a board game or a video game, like let's say it's Mario Kart or Scrabble or chess, are we playing on the same board, or are we playing on the same console together? Even though we're experiencing it differently, like your vantage point might be different because you're across the table from me or you're sitting next to me while we're playing the game. Though, is the game shared? Or is the game actually a different game for both of us and we're in different realities? If anyone wants to give a go at that one.
Melissa has raised her hand. Let's hear it from her.
Okay.
Well, from my educational background in early childhood education, they talk a lot about the nature versus nurture and what plays into like how a person, their personality develops and stuff. And so I feel like I sometimes wonder, like, if the person you become and the beliefs you have, are they necessarily like your interpretations of the world and how you were raised and your genes and stuff? Not necessarily. I think we all do definitely interpret the world differently based on nature and nurture.
Yeah, I actually couldn't agree more. Yeah, absolutely. Where I agree with that is like, I am a culmination of nature and nurture, and I can't think of much else, right? Like my genetics, I didn't choose my genetics or where I was born or the language I speak and that sort of thing. Though in my thought experiment with the game, if we were to replace that word reality with the word game, like people experience the same game and only interpret it differently, Would you agree to that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So maybe the word reality is what trips people up on this one, or maybe we interpret that word to mean something different. Though, if we were to think of reality as a game, like the game of life, and we're sharing this, are we sharing the same objective reality in our own unique vantage point?
Yes, and also I think age comes into play too. Like a baby is going to have a different perception of reality than a
Totally.
85-year-old who's lived
Yeah.
a long life.
So like time is another variable in our
Right.
vantage point. For sure.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone else have anything to say on this one? Because I'm personally strongly agree.
Yeah, I'm strongly agree. I just think reality is a fact, and our interpretation, of course, is unique. Every person interprets it different, in my opinion.
Cool. Anybody with a question at all on this one? Thank you for the feedback. If not, we can move on to the next one. So we talked about this number 3 a little bit when we talked about number 1. Truth depends on the opinions and beliefs of people. And we got mostly strongly disagree here. Because does anyone have a question on this one here? Does anyone think that maybe the truth does depend on on the opinions and beliefs of people? We did address this a little bit with number 1, but if people had a chance to think about it and maybe they have a new question or some new proposition to give, I'd love to hear it. No?
Well, I have a quick, because I was going to say it
Sure.
with we were discussing the first one. So first of all, thank you so much for your talk today and very
Thanks.
thought-provoking questions. Most appreciated. But so I think I am a journalist by trade. Well, by nature, I got my degree in journalism. So words are a big thing to me.
Yeah.
And I think there's a difference between truth, reality, fact.
Okay.
So like the world is round, right? That is a fact that cannot be argued, though people will say it's flat. The reality is such that the world is in fact round.
So just a clarifying question, when you say a fact, do you mean accurate and true? Are those words saying relatively the same thing and getting at the same thing?
Well, but I think truth can be interpreted to whatever I speak as my truth may not be scientific fact.
So to you, truth can be possessed, it sounds like. When you say the words my truth, how is that different than truth?
Well, what I mean is that the way I choose to live my life is my truth, and the way somebody else chooses to live their life is their truth. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we can agree to disagree on the fact that the earth is round.
Can it be my truth that the earth is flat?
You can believe that the earth is flat, but that makes it your truth. That doesn't make it true.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, is the phrase "my truth" synonymous with the word belief?
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
I think when we use the words truth, fact, belief, reality, you have to be very careful where you tread, because your verbiage may be different than someone else's verbiage, even with those 4 words.
So I have a comment. It sounds to me like there's 2 definitions of truth being discussed. One is synonymous with reality, and one is synonymous with the opposite of a lie.
Oh.
The opposite of a lie.
So my truth, I'm not lying if I tell you the earth is flat. If I really believe it, it's my truth. I know it based on my, whatever I've done to my epistemology, whatever I've done to come to that. So is that possible that some people here are talking about the opposite of a lie. When they use the word,
I mean, for me, yeah, I guess, yeah, when I think of the word truth, I think truth and lie. That's really where, and for, I don't know, I guess I'm so science-based, minded-wise, that if you can't prove it to me, if there isn't evidence to support that, then I'm going to have a really hard time believing you, even if you believe it to be 100% true. I need the proof that it does exist.
and when I hear the word truth, I can substitute it for reality. Like, it's
Interesting.
regardless of what I know or don't know about it, there is a reality, and that is the truth. But I can understand what you mean when you say, you know, if something's true to me, I'm not lying if I say it, even if it doesn't.
Right. I'm not saying, like, I may not agree with your idea that the world, I'm using that as an example, y'all, because it was the first, thank you, Kate and Griff, for that in my head, but that's what's working for me. I'm not going to tell you that I may not agree with your belief, but that doesn't mean that I have a right to infringe on that belief.
Can I ask one question about the phrase, my truth? Can I have any, is there any reason to say my truth ever instead of belief? Why ever use that phrase? Is there any reason for it? Because I don't know why we would. Well,
I think it's more of a catchphrase now, in society, that people say, I'm living my truth, or I'm living my authentic self.
Is that kind of like saying, and correct me if this is like a sensitive question or anything, like, I don't mean to offend. I'm just genuinely curious. Like, is saying my truth synonymous with I can't be wrong?
Oh no, I am readily able to admit when I am wrong.
Okay, but then why should we ever use that phrase, my truth?
Bad wording on my part, honestly. I was just, for me, like I said, for me, the words truth and lie and belief and reality, other people use them interchangeably, but when I use them, I'm very particular about the word that I choose to use when discussing certain topics.
Cool. Do you have any final words on this before we move on to the next one? Did you have anything else you wanted to mention about it?
I'm good.
Very thought-provoking. Thank you for participating.
Thank you for hearing me out.
Yeah, that was great. Okay, number 4, unless anybody else has something to say.
I think we're getting caught up on the truth and the definition and interpretation of truth, and that's really, I think, causing an impediment. And my 2 bits is just that the truth changes with time. You know, everyone loves to talk about science and all these facts and stuff, and facts of science will change as the future progresses. Right now, I'm sure everyone loves all the planet stuff, and they're talking about how life is inhospitable on Venus. And then who knows, 100 years from now, they'll be like, oh, there's life on Venus. All those people 100 years ago were such fools. They had no idea. You know, they thought that there wasn't life on Venus. Anyway, I'm just shooting that out there.
Yeah, real fascinating. All right, let's move on to the next one. Number 4. Is it number 4? Yeah, we're on number 4, right? People create words and define their meaning. There's only a couple of somewhat disagrees. I'll just pose a question to the class. Is there anything other than people that create words and define what they mean?
Well, I'm a linguist, so I would say that speech communities create words and define their meanings.
Speech communities.
Yeah. So
are speech communities made of people?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But people could imply individuals, and there has to be a common ground of understanding, is what I'm saying.
Right.
And that comes from the community and not from me personally or you personally.
So like if I didn't speak English and I spoke Spanish instead, you might not be able to understand. We might not be able to understand each other. So I'm hearing you say that
Because we would not be members of the same speech community, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing like it's our common understanding of these words
Yes.
that gives words meaning.
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone have any issue with that or know how to ask questions about it or have any questions about asking questions about it? This one's kind of crucial because epistemology is working with language a lot, especially like the word truth is an abstract word and this abstract concept. So we're trying to reach common understanding on what that word means before we talk about what is true.
I would like to add a comment. As we're talking about truth here, I keep thinking back to the oath you take in court. Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But what you're really doing is you're going to tell what you believe happened, sincerely believe. And
that's correct.
I've always kind of considered truth to be something ethereal that you might not ever know, objective truth, if you will. But in court, we take a whole different perspective, even though we didn't realize it.
I couldn't possibly agree more. I'm in full agreement with that. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I feel like that one's pretty easy for us, and generally we all agree on number 4. So it's more or less. There's some somewhat agrees, and I just like people to out there think to themselves why they would not be strongly agree. Though I feel like we're probably all on the same page. Maybe there's just some hesitancy there. But it sounds like so long as we have an understanding of what words mean, that's what enables them to work. That seems like that's what gives them utility, right? Okay.
So Wayne Coltrane, I apologize. I noticed you've had your hand up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I want to start off with the whole idea of epistemology is a tree with many branches, so we can go a long way with this and branch off. But I want to just start off with the whole idea here seems to be around inductive logic. And I want to read this because it's easier to read it than to say it. An inductive logic is a logic of evidential support that we have the ability to learn in a certain way. So there are innate ideas.
Can I try to put that in a layman's terms?
Let me finish.
Oh, sure.
So basically, let me give an example of induction. It's a very common, it's usually a portion that you could be wrong. That's called the black swan, the thing at the tail end of the bell curve. But in empirical, you're only limited to the evidence that you've gathered. And
hey, Wayne, do you have something? Hey, Wayne, let me interrupt for a second. Do you have something to say about the number that we're talking about on the survey?
We're on I'm just in general, I don't agree with any of these things. So
you don't agree that truth is a statement that best matches reality, for example?
I'll change my answer on that to strongly disagree.
To strongly disagree?
Yeah.
Can
you said matches external reality, so
truth is not a statement that best matches the world, or
no,
it's not? What is it?
It's based on deductive reasoning.
Okay, that's what it's based on. I'm asking.
That's going to be the truth.
So the truth is deductive reasoning?
Yes.
If I ask you, if you tell me something that you think is true, and I say, is that true? What am I asking exactly?
Let me give you an example. Is an electron, does it behave as a particle or as a wave?
So if I give you an accurate answer, if it's accurate, is it true? If it's accurate?
I'm giving you something that does an electron, will it behave as a particle or a wave?
it appears to be under different circumstances. The observation of it seems to change the behavior of it. So it depends on how we're measuring it and how it's affecting the external. So if we're measuring it,
it's both. Both are true.
If we're not measuring it, then it seems to be a wave, right? A wave pattern. And if we are measuring it, it seems to be consolidated into a single point, into a particle. Mm-hmm. Aren't these statements accurate?
Is it a particle or is it a wave?
So if the answer that I give you to your question is correct, if the answer I give you to your question is correct, hypothetically, is it being correct the thing that makes it true?
So repeat your statement.
If I give you a correct answer, is the fact that it's correct the thing that makes the statement true? Whatever answer I give you, so long as it's accurate, is the accuracy of my answer the thing that makes it true?
It could be true. It may not be true.
Yeah, if it isn't accurate, then can you and I agree that we would call that false?
It depends on whether it's under a particular universe, because things change, like quantum physics. Everything changes.
For sure, yeah. Like the outcome.
Truth in one area is not truth in another. Rules of physics totally change, and that's just one thing we know about. We only know what we can obtain from our five senses. So that's the only thing we have to determine what's true. We don't know that there are other.
Yeah, so those are different epistemologies, right? You're describing methodology. I'm hearing, and correct me if I misunderstand you, but I'm hearing methodology, which is ways to arrive at truth. And you're describing the difficulty of doing that. And I'm just trying to
maybe you could just include that is a perceived truth.
Perceived truth?
If you're using external truths, then it's what your perception of it is.
Me too.
Yeah.
What
was that? Lisa?
Also, in regard to the language, I would suggest I've been studying Wittgenstein, and he goes into a lot of the stuff about the use of language.
So this will be my last question, Wayne. What would you rather number one say?
Put the question back. Put it back up there. I don't remember exactly.
Oh, it's truth.
Word for word.
Truth is that which best matches external reality. What would you say instead?
I would say truth is.
In one sentence. You have one sentence only.
Best matches perceived reality. External.
Perceived reality. Interesting. Okay.
I think what we're going to have to do is have a follow-up street epistemology session.
Yeah.
Get through all these discussions today. Mm-hmm. But it's fantastic that we've uncovered that, we don't even really agree on what truth is.
Right. I've done 200 of these surveys, and the thing that really shocked me the most was how much disagreement there is on what the word true means. It's one of those abstract nebulous concepts, and it's fascinating to ask each other questions about it. So I really encourage people dig into it more, because we take for granted every single day that we even agree what the word true means, let alone what is true, right? Like what to put under the category of true statements is hard enough. And if we don't have a common understanding of the definition for truth, then it muddies up our ability to resolve disputes of truth.
Does this mean that Clinton asked depends on the definition of is? It wasn't really a stupid comment.
I didn't hear any dumb comments today. They're all like, people expressing their deeply held understandings, and I really appreciate everybody's feedback. And I'd love to answer any questions, but I know that we're kind of going over time, so we can always come back and try to do this again.
Really, really, really quick, guys. I actually have to go back to work, so I just want to say thank you so much for this morning. It has been quite eye-opening and extremely engaging, and one of the best gatherings I've been to in a long time.
Yay!
So thank you so much for doing what you do and joining us today. It was wonderful to meet you.
Thank you.
I hope to talk to you again.
Appreciate you. See you around.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
What was that? Does that mean we have time for one more?
We can do one more.
Number 5. Something is true if everyone agrees to it. Did we do this one already? Because we went back to number 1. So I lost track.
There could be a lot of agreement on that one, so that one might not be a great one.
So if everyone agrees to something, is that the thing that makes it true? And I think we all talked about how a lot of people way back in the day all thought the earth was flat, right? Though, did the statement, the earth is round, was that false because people didn't consider it? I think everybody's in agreement on that one, although there's a somewhat disagree, and maybe that's just going back again to the definition of truth. Unless anyone has anything to say on that one, I'm ready to move on. Okay. All right. Number 6. And this one is all over the place. I love it. It's great. It's so fascinating. I'm like, this is so fascinating. Strong belief, even without action, can change external reality.
Wow.
So anyone have a question or want to be asked a question that, let's see here, even without action can change external reality.
Okay, Melissa waved at the screen, and we got Kate waving.
Anybody that agrees is probably somebody I want to engage in.
I don't even understand the question.
You muted yourself.
Oh, no.
So if you believe in something strongly and do not act on your belief at all, does it change the external world? I think so some background on this. I think the spirit of the question, or the spirit of the statement rather, is to call into question whether or not things like prayer or law of attraction work or change the external world. If I believe something really hard, does it change the external world in any way? Even if I do not act on it, no action whatsoever on the external world, my mind makes the external world change.
Ellen would like to say something.
Mm-hmm.
Ellen, you have to unmute yourself though. Sorry,
Where'd she go?
She's right there.
There she is.
There she is.
Here I am. Okay. I believe that beliefs can create a climate, for example, a climate in which it is acceptable to separate children from their parents and put them in cages, and that men should make decisions about women's health and lives.
Interesting. In that scenario, is that climate happening because people are expressing their beliefs?
To some extent, yes.
If no one did express their beliefs at all, and additionally also didn't act on them, would it change the external world?
I'm not sure about that. That's an interesting question.
I think that's a really unique input, and I like the feedback. I think that you and I probably agree about what this statement means. Yeah. So I wouldn't really necessarily push you any further than that, unless you had anything else to say about it.
No, I'm good.
Thank you. So I got a lot of neutrals and a lot of somewhat agrees. So
Kate, you were waving around on that question. Did you have something you wanted to add?
You explained it, but.
Well, this is, when you say action, for example, prayer, for someone who would pray, would that count as an action?
Yeah.
Because people obviously believe that prayer can affect external circumstances and change things.
That's a good question. Like, is prayer considered an action?
I would say it is.
Let's say for the sake of this conversation that it's not an action, that it's an internal thing. So let's say somebody isn't physically exhibiting any kind of action whatsoever, and they're in their own head, they're praying. So let's say it's not an action, just prayer. Does strong prayer, even without any action at all, change the external world in any way?
I would say yes, but
no.
I think it's up to everyone to decide in their relationships and all that sort of thing. But I think a lot of people believe that it works, and if they didn't believe it worked, then they probably would not do it.
Awesome. Well, we could go on and on and on. I love this discussion. I love the input, and I'm eager to meet up with everybody maybe later on this week in the afternoon, since I'm not really a morning person. I had to drink a lot of coffee to get ready for this. I just want to drive everybody, please write down or open a web browser and go to streetepistemology.com. There's so many other channels other than mine that do this, and it's really fascinating to dig into other people's beliefs in a way that's non-confrontational. It's just asking questions, and it really does help us reform our own ideas. And I really encourage people, engage with people that you don't agree with, record your conversations, listen back to them, and check out other people that do the same thing. Again, my channel is Abstract Activist. You can find me on YouTube. If my channel is kind of hard to find because there's 2 common words. So if you type in how to instill doubt, you should find my channel. How to instill doubt by showing how to instill doubt is the name of one of my more popular videos. So you'll find me that way. Otherwise, if there's any other questions, we can end there. I'll let Al and Lisa take over.
Nathan, that was so interesting, and it exceeded my expectations. I had really high expectations of it being an interesting discussion, and it blew my mind. So
just wait until we get to when we should believe, because that's the most incredible part.
Well, I look forward to having some follow-up sessions. I hope you can join us again, because this has been fantastic, and I want to practice it. I want to go through some role playing and actually dig into it and practice.
Yeah, and you guys just saw a little bit of it. There are actually 3 additional sections. I think it's 3 additional polling sections where the questions get very, very interesting. And so maybe we do a follow-up event for those that are interested, and we could work our way through those other 3 polls and take some of the learnings from this session and into another one. So if there's interest in that, we'll get that on the calendar. Go ahead, Ellen, you wanted to say something.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. And I want to add a coda to what I said. Beliefs drive action.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I wanted to say about number 6 is I think that number 6 can be interpreted in more than just one way. And if my conversation partner interprets belief itself to be an action, I just go with that interpretation. I don't see any problem with that, because to me, it gets at the heart of why I even do this at all. Why even care about other people's ideas? I care about other people's ideas because they are necessarily consequential to me and my community. And I care what people think a great deal. And so if somebody agrees to number 6 on the basis that when our minds are changed, it changes the external world, I got no bones to pick about that. It has to do with how we interpret number 6. And so if somebody goes with that interpretation, I just roll with it.
Yeah, it is so important, probably more important now than ever, that we care about why people believe what they believe and how they came to know what they know. And we can discuss it openly and respectfully. And that's exactly why I knew we had to have you. And,
yay! Well, I'll be back.
And before we get out of here, though, I do want to point out William Newbill, I saw you earlier raising your hand, and I didn't get to you because the conversation was ongoing. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, no, I just want to clarify, when we were talking about the word reality, what I always think of is objective reality.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that helps at all, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. And the other, quickly on question 6, I think an interesting question is this thing about the placebo effect. I just thought it's sort of an exception to the way I would answer the question.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting question. And that's all I got.
Good point. And then we can quibble all day long about whether or not our bodies are external or if they're internal, right? Are our bodies internal? I mean, I drive my body around all day. So if we consider my body external, then I wonder what would be internal, or where the dividing line between external and internal are, right?
Exactly.
Thanks, Dallas. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today, and I really appreciate you bringing me on.
We appreciate you, Nathan.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day.
You too.
Everybody, thank you for joining today and participating. And it was just a joy to be with you today, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.
You too, everybody.
And bye, Nathan.
Bye.
Thank you, Nathan. Brian, you got your hand up there. What'd you want?
He finally gets called on.
Yeah, I thought that was applause. Sorry. Is that not the applause icon?
Oh. It probably is.
Oh, there's a thumbs up. No, I thought it was great.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. Well, Lisa and I are going to move on to phase 2 of our Sunday
lunch.
And
starving.
Everybody have a wonderful day. And Nathan, I'll connect with you afterwards if that's okay. And I love you all very much. Everybody stay safe.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.